To order, and we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a couple of announcements this morning, or what?
It's 7 p.m.
Okay. This evening, registration for the Grafton Recreation Fall and Winter Program is now open. Visit graftonrec.com to sign up. And the brush dump is now open Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and Saturdays from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We do not have any public hearings today, and we have a couple of appointments. I can take a motion when you're ready.
Sure. I move the board vote to appoint Jocelyn Davidson to the Cultural Council.
Second.
Motion made
And
and
I missed
seconded. Any discussion?
It's okay.
Jump around.
Yeah.
So we did hear from Miss Davidson. She was unable to attend the previous meeting. Is she actually here right now? No.
She is not.
She was in labor last time when we were trying to appoint her. But she did reach out. She's still very interested in joining. So if the board's okay with not meeting her and still appointing her, we can go forward with this motion.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
She seemed to have a great resume for it, so.
Okay. All right, so motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. And
I'll go back and do the first one now.
sounds good.
I move the board vote to appoint Madeline Goodrich as the tax title custodian.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Okay, so first up on the agenda, we have the Holden Farms one-day beer and wine license, the additional dates. Do we have anyone from Holden Farms? No.
We do not.
Okay, so I will start by saying that they have two one-day beer and wine licenses. I'm just going to refer to them as License A and License B for this. License A, they're still operating on, but back in June, when we modified some of the dates, the board removed 11 dates and added 15, which exceeds the 30 days. So there's 3 dates at the end of that license that we need to add on to the more recent license we added on, oh, Joyce. All right, we'll go back to you. On August 23rd, so license B. Those dates are September 24th, October 1st, and October 15th. So if the board's okay with that, we can just add those dates on. The board assumed we had granted those, but as it turns out, it exceeded the 30 days. Does anybody have any questions? I don't know if I explained that thoroughly enough.
So license A was 33.
Right.
You're gonna move 3 onto license B, which was last issued at 6, so that would be issued at 9 days total.
Wasn't it 5 that you guys did last time?
Oh, did they say 6 and then one got dropped? 'Cause
Yeah.
it was
A repeat.
It was the wrong guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
So 8 total.
So I'm coming up with +7 when I just looked at this real quick, but
+7. What do you mean?
like above the 30. But I don't know that it.
No. Where are you seeing that? Just so I can.
I just when I just sat down, I just kind of went through it quickly, the numbers that are on here,
Mm-hmm.
and so I came up with 30 +7. That's including the 5 that you guys did last time.
Okay, so on
So it's
April.
just off by 1 from what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
I get you.
Do you know what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
So I don't know if it's.
We are talking about Holden Farms if you guys want to come up. I don't know if you want to join us. So on April 5th, the board approved 30 dates. On June 14th, the board removed 11 and added 15. And that's where it exceeds the 30. And then on July 19th, it just swapped 2 for 2. But you're seeing 31.
It's fine. I'm just, yeah. I don't know how I it's only off by one, by what you're coming up with, so
Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
you can look at it more.
I just want to make sure they're covered on the dates that they need to be covered is the
Yep.
point, because we don't want anybody under the impression that they have a date that they don't have, right?
Right.
We just want to make sure that that's correct. So I can take a motion to amend the August 23rd one-day beer and wine license to include September 24th, October 1st, and October 15th.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Okay, so that issue is resolved. And now we're gonna talk about the additional dates that you guys sent in that you're looking for. Did you wanna say anything about that real quick before the board has its discussion?
As far as,
Well, the last time you were here and you requested those additional dates, I believe the board was very clear that they would not be issuing any more dates. And then a few days later, you sent in a request for additional dates. So there seems to be a disconnect.
I thought I was on the impression for like, we're talking about next year, that they wouldn't be issuing anything like
Like-
that
We weren't gonna be sitting here having this conversation
for next year.
for next year.
Okay. All right, so you guys still are requesting those additional dates for October, November, into December?
Well, there was just the one date in December, right?
Yes.
And that's just Grafton celebrates the holidays.
Okay.
So that was the only reason that was there. It's not like we're trying to go like
Into December. and
into
that.
December and do multiple days. It was, yeah.
And why weren't those dates presented the last time you were here?
I guess I sort of just chose the 8 days originally, and then we missed a few days. It went down to 6. This whole thing's been confusing, to be completely honest. I mean, my thoughts were to come up and have 30 more days, you know what I mean, 30 more days, so I just figured the 8 original days would have got us through the rest of August, I believe it was, and then so far into September. It was just a thought of mine, sort of, I don't know.
Okay. All right, so I think the board can have their discussion now about that, unless you have any further comments on it? Nope.
I don't.
Okay. So how does everybody feel about the additional dates that they're requesting? Does anybody want to speak to that?
I mean, I'll just start. I did watch your discussion from last week earlier today. So what I'm gathering from it, having not been here, is that you did in fact accept that there were 2 entities, or maybe you didn't, or maybe by the end of the meeting you did. And if so, then wouldn't technically they have the 2 30-day, 31-day licenses based on your meeting last week?
Technically, yes, the additional license has capacity to add more dates.
Okay.
But I know for me personally, I don't think the board, was excited to grant more than the 5 or 6 dates that they
Right.
did last time, and I don't think there's an appetite to add to that license, although there is capacity. I don't know how everybody else feels.
That was where I sat after last week too. I was under the impression that we would do those dates and that would be it. Call it a soft spot. I'm willing to be reasonable, I think, on the December 4th, Grafton celebrates the holidays. But at this point, no, I wouldn't be in favor of adding additional dates.
So for me, again, based on the fact that we've identified these 2 entities, then technically they would, you could have the 2 going, or 2 different licenses. Sorry, I'm not going to be eloquent with my words, but, and for that reason, I'm not sure how I could say no. If in fact it's complying with what the standard is. I understand, I've been here since May. I understand all the things that are going on and the complaints and the weekly everything. I get, so that's not lost on me. I guess I'm just unclear how I could say no if in fact all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. which after listening to last week, I thought that was the case. If I had been here, I also would be surprised to have you guys coming back today with all these dates, just so you know. After viewing that whole meeting last week and seeing like kind of how it ended. So it is surprising to see all these dates. However, it does seem to comply with what we can do.
Okay.
So for myself, I never got comfortable last week with the whole two entity idea. To me, the explanation of these two entities were ultimately that they were both connected to the farm. And all of this business activity is in support of the farm. So I never kind of got there. For me, granting the 5 days last week was more of a kind of hold your nose and just give them the dates that they were looking for to finish off the end of the season. So I'm not looking to add additional dates. We have no way of really managing which of these dates is used and not used, and I also am trying to be conscious of setting expectations again for next year. My understanding of one-day beer and wine licenses is that they are tied to specific dates, and it's kind of rain or shine. So you get permitted for a day, and that's one. And we extended a courtesy to swap dates early in the season to try to support the business. I don't see that as a permanent way to treat these one-day beer and wine licenses. So for me, I don't want to set the expectation that we're going to kind of have to go through this process again next year as we grant a block of 30 and then only 13 are used, and then we come back with another 17. It's not how one-day beer and wine licenses are intended to be used. It doesn't meet the spirit of what they're intended for. So for me personally, I don't feel comfortable with these additional dates. I'd like to stick with the dates that we agreed on last week. We already had that discussion. I felt comfortable enough to move forward with those, but I wouldn't look to add any additional ones.
Okay. I would agree with Matt. I think last week we were having the discussion, what's the difference between this year and next year, and like you're saying, the board majority felt that it was okay to add those additional 5 days. But to your point, Emery, we do have the authority to add them, but that's why we're the local licensing authority, because the state might not always take into consideration the things that we know at this level. And I would say at this level, last week, we were pretty clear that we weren't going to be doing this anymore. I apologize if there was any confusion. I wish you had reached out and asked for clarity before requesting more dates. We could have clarified it for you, but I'm with Matt. I do not feel comfortable adding any more additional dates to this year. All right, is there any further discussion? Okay, I don't think we need to even take a motion for that. We can just move on. All right. Okay, thanks for coming in, guys.
Have a good evening.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
I see Mrs. Davidson joined us. If we want to just circle back and say hello to her really quickly.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you? Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm off camera because I have a 4-week-old with me right now.
It's all good.
And she's kind of screaming, so I might have my mic off more than on.
It's okay. Well, just so you're aware, we've already appointed you to the Cultural Council, so congratulations again.
Oh, thank you.
And yeah, if you don't have anything to say, we can let you get back to it and hang out with your baby.
Yeah, and I was actually wondering, given that last conversation where you could go and review like the previous meetings, is that on the Grafton website to look at the meeting minutes?
They should be, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was thinking of taking a look at those because I get a little confused as a new person, just kind of figure out what that last conversation was about to, make any comments, but I'll go ahead and look at some of the previous meetings.
Sure. They're also all on YouTube. There's a Grafton government channel on YouTube which has all the meetings recorded.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Awesome. Well, it was lovely meeting you, and I hope you have a great rest of your night.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Andy.
We don't have to take an official vote on Holden's?
We're not taking action on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, they asked and
We would if somebody made a motion.
Okay.
just to add, I think, which, I mean, we took care of those additional dates that we needed to clean up. That's already cleaned up.
Right.
Now we're gonna do sign the FY23 MS4 compliance support amendment number 3. That's pretty.
It's fairly straightforward. It's part of our MS4 compliance documentation that we're doing.
Awesome.
It's not really a, you can say no thing.
Great. So let's just take a motion
We
for
need to
that.
be
Are we
complete.
on track with all the dates and stuff? Some of them were coming up pretty soon.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Great. I move the board vote to approve the MS23 FY23 MS4 Compliance Support Project Amendment number 3 and authorize the chair to sign.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Next, we have the harassment of individuals in a protected class policy update. This, the board has discussed a couple times. We cleaned it up, and this is just to,
Yeah, I can throw that on the screen for you real quick.
lovely.
So we did talk about this several weeks ago. The board had a little feedback, mainly with the procedures for the complaints, namely who they go to. So we have changed that. We've designated myself as the primary and our HR director, Krista, as the alternate, per the board's request. And now we just bring it before you for final approval.
Awesome. Thank you. Does the board have any other questions or comments on this?
Wasn't it that we were gonna have legal look at it or council look at it as well? Was that
Yes,
put
they
it back?
have looked at it. They've
Okay.
gone through. They've made their changes.
And there were changes or?
There was, but I believe those were applied with the first draft that we showed at the meeting 4 to 5 weeks ago, whenever we discussed it first.
Yep, I just thought that then legal was gonna look at that document, so there weren't subsequent changes after legal
No.
saw it? Okay.
Awesome. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, I can take a motion.
I move the board vote to approve and sign the harassment of individuals in protected classes policy as presented.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Okay, now we're gonna do opening of the fall town meeting warrant.
I move the board vote to open the town meeting warrant.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. All right, do we have any select board reports? Okay, town administrator report.
Just pulling it up now. Do it without it.
Oh, okay.
Do it with the one you got. You guys are moving quick tonight. Okay.
I like the color.
Yeah, switching it up a little bit. So we have one slide that don't advance yet. What are you doing? Good lord. So there's one slide missing from this deck that Will doesn't have. That's what we're trying to pull up. But I wanted to give you a brief overview because we're just kicking off budget stuff. So we have our initial capital summit. Looks like it'll be September 14th if we can get everything together. If not, it'll be the following Wednesday. We've already got our primary submissions for most of the capital we got. But one of the things that we've encountered is that Grafton does not have a very robust capital asset list. It's just kind of what the department heads know. They might have internal lists, they might have informal lists, but we don't have anywhere where that's codified. So that's one of our upcoming projects, is to create a shared capital asset list, and we'll do that using probably our insurance roll as the impetus for that, or the step off point, and then build it out from there. One of the things that I think we're struggling with in Grafton is looking beyond, say, 2 years in any real meaningful way. So there's other stuff out there, but it's it's just, if it's a truck a year, well, then you just put that for 5 years. But there's other things that need to be addressed in there, and we're just not doing a great job of capturing that. So That's going to be the focus of this year's capital summit, will be how to create your asset list and how to then translate that asset list into a 5-year forecast of what your capital expenditures need to be. Even though you might not know what that cost is going to be. You know what today's cost is, you don't know what 5 years cost is. You know, we can still benchmark that. That's where we are on the budget. And I would anticipate in the next month or so that we will look to do the initial budget send out, which will be a request for level services budget. Now we can move.
Okay.
Okay.
So is the intention that you'll get those 3 to 5 year capital assets in as requests at some point over the next year or so? Like
No, I'm going to try to do it by, September, October.
Okay.
I mean, I don't think we're that far off. I think that what we need is for everyone to sit in a room
Yeah.
together and get a grasp of what I don't want to call it a real capital plan, but
Sure.
kind of, what the expectation is of what a manageable capital plan looks like, and forecasting that out. I know CIPC did a lot of work to that end. But even since starting here, there's a lot of stuff that's come up that wasn't in CIPC's list. It just comes out of the ether, and that's not a good way to.
Yeah, it comes out of the ether, but someone knows about it always.
Right.
So that's the
Right,
thing,
and it's getting it out of them and
Yeah.
into the plan.
Okay.
And I think part of it is that fear that if I put it in there and I change my mind, or I change what I'm trying to do, or I want to pivot, or I want to change, this item from year 4 to year 2 and 2 to 4, I'm locked in, and that's not the point. The point is to be able to give us that forecast, the look ahead, that we can say, this is about how much we need to have in capital costs, and can we manage that?
Right.
It doesn't matter if we swap those two things, we're still going to have to buy them at a certain point.
Absolutely.
And we want to have a plan that's flexible, right? You need a sweeper after every 10 years. Well, if it'll last you 12 and you can do the thing that's supposed to last you 10, but it's only lasting you 8, well, then you do that. And I think that there's also some of that residual, I'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And that's a hard thing to get out of people.
Totally.
So I think we have a good starting point, but we've got some work to do.
Great.
Okay, you've already changed the slide, thank you. Okay, so ongoing things that we're working on. The DE&I audit RFP is complete. We've done all of the necessary vetting, and we'll be issuing the award letter tomorrow. So I would think, what was the start date for that project? What was the range we gave them?
We put that as subject to negotiation between the town,
okay.
the school committee, and
So
Selected.
I would think it's probably early next year that we kick that off.
Great.
So
You guys happy with the respondents?
yeah, it's an interesting animal. We've never done this before, and there's varying levels of success in the community.
Yeah.
There's also this being kind of a newer area that you're seeing consultants pop up. They're like consultants that seem to have like amalgamated into a new company.
Sure.
And then it's hard to vet that, and it's hard for them to meet some of the requirements that we asked for, as far as give us X number of ones that you've already completed and all of that. So it was pretty interesting, but we are happy. We have a respondent. The price was reasonable compared to, we were anywhere, I think we were from 30,000 to 170.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
What is the price that you are hoping to land on?
30 something.
Okay.
30 and change. Yeah, we think we've got a good vendor, and I can't say who they are yet because it hasn't been awarded in the bid
Sure.
still. But we can update you all on that next time we're in, and start working on our timeline. With that, Jay worked with Will and I. It was great. We did the bid opening together, and so I'm looking forward to it. It was a really collaborative process to get to this point, and I'm sure it will be moving forward as well.
Great.
All right, Nelson Park. So if you all recall, we had that conversation. I believe it was started with Ray and Skip Courier, and so Jen, myself, and Will went and toured the Nelson Park Library, the Nelson Library rather. And it does seem like a really good location for recreation, as far as having some opportunity space to run programming, indoors and outdoors. The building's in pretty decent shape. They've got some IT infrastructure already there. We'd have to probably upgrade a switch, and that was the major thing. So the next step is for the trustees of Nelson Park and Nelson Library to get together and make their decision on whether or not we're going to move in that direction. And if so, then we'll come up with a timeline and probably head that way. So it's a really cool. Has everybody been in?
No, I've never been in it.
Okay, so it's a really unique building. It's got vaulted ceilings, and it's pretty neat. I think there's a lot of potential there for them to be able to do some really cool stuff. So pretty excited. We are working obviously on the fall town meeting warrant. Our deadline for submissions from the department heads is the 9th.
Yep, Friday.
So we're going to remind them. But we have, what are we up to? 18 or 22 articles?
12, I think.
Yeah, like I said, 18 or 22. So, really?
Yeah.
Okay. We just looked at it right before coming in here, so that's alarming.
There's just one very long article.
So there's one zoning article. So we should, at the beginning of next week, be able to get a draft sent out to the board, as long as everyone understands that it's all subject to change because we haven't vetted it through legal. Somebody might, come out of the woodwork as a department that needs something emergent, or we missed something or whatever. So, but it's pretty solid already. I'm really happy with where it's at.
Were there any citizens petitions that you've seen?
Just one, and that is it's. I was gonna say it's wonky. It's a little wonky how Grafton does this. So if you want to reach substantial completion and have your subdivision accepted, you have to do it as a citizen's petition, which I've never seen before. So that is the only one that we received.
Should we have them come in and present to the board? We've done that in the past with citizens petitions.
Yeah, I think so. They have to go through ZBA or planning board anyways. So I don't know what the process has been in the past. So I'm gonna lean on Chris a little bit for that, because he's gonna come in and talk to you all about there's a planning board bylaw change that they're initiating. So he's gonna come and give a presentation on that, and so we can either have him present on what planning is doing and zoning is doing, or we can just have the applicant come in.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. We have our IT RFP out. We've held our site visit last week, and our final submissions for that are due Friday. So pretty hopeful that we have some good candidates in there. Okay, go to the next slide. We held, so we're working through Complete Streets. We were accepted as a Complete Streets community, and now we're doing our outreach.
Oh, great.
So we are.
So that unlocks some funding, right?
It does.
Yeah, good.
Yep. And so now we're doing our Complete Streets part of the master plan component. And so we held an outreach meeting at the senior center last Wednesday.
Yeah.
And it was great. Really good attendance. A lot of feedback regarding concerns in the community. I really like to go to them. Most of that's going to be directed towards DPW, but when you get that many people in a room talking, they invariably talk about gripes in the community that don't fit into Complete Streets, and it's nice to be there to hear them firsthand and then, shuffle them off to where they
Sure.
need to go, or be able to go up to the person and say, these folks aren't going to be able to help you because this is Complete Streets, but let's go over here. So it was nice, and people were really into it, which was nice to see.
That's great.
So we are working, we have the Public Employee Committee. We're what's called a Section 19 community, so we need the Public Employee Committee to vote on our health insurance choices. And so, as you know, we are locked in with Harvard Pilgrim right now, but we only did a 1-year extension because we're hoping to get maybe some better pricing, more stable pricing. It's hard right now to do that. So we are actively looking at a number of different solutions. I will tell you that our biggest issue is that I'm pretty sure it's called a mod number. I'm not an insurance expert, but it's 107, which means that for every dollar that we pay the insurance company, they're taking a loss because of our utilization. So that makes us really unattractive in the marketplace. And so we're going to look at some of those bigger pooled resources, because that's a great way for us to, be worked into other communities that have a great rate and we're, a little bit of a liability, and it all blends out. So we're actively looking at that. That's been a really good and productive process. Grafton Science Park. So we met with Mass Development regarding the removal of lease restriction for Tufts. So Tufts owns that section of land and that we call the Grafton Science Park, and that's where the level 3 bio lab is and all that stuff is back in there. And so we view their process as being restrictive to being able to get some of that on the productive tax roll. And that is because currently the legislation that governs use of that property says that they can lease those sections, but it has to be a 99-year lease, which your big companies that are going to come spend $10 million on a building, they don't want a 99-year lease, they want to own the property. And so we are petitioning Mass Development to work with the legislature and Tufts to get that 99-year lease restriction removed, so that they could then sell off those parcels, which would then be taxable to the town of Grafton.
Is Tufts amenable to that?
Yes. I don't want to just say it. Yes, it's part of the conversation. They've been great partners. I don't want to speak for them and just say, oh yeah, they're 100% in, because I don't know any of their internal conversations.
Sure.
But they are agreeable to moving forward in this process. They seem agree that every meeting I've had with them about this subject, they've been very positive. So
Excellent.
let me frame it that way instead, so I don't over speak for them. They've been I will say Tufts has been a great partner in everything we've done since I've gotten here. They're Joe and Jean at Tufts are really nice people to work with, and we've got some really cool things going on. They're going to be hosting our Grafton's Open for Business thing that we're going to do, which is we invite all these players like Mass Development and different companies and stuff to come and meet at Tufts and talk about the science park and talk about other opportunities that Grafton has to offer. So, and they host it and cater it and do the whole thing for us. So it's really nice. Nice people. And lastly, I just want to mention our new phones. So our new phones are in. They are not glitch free. So if you're having trouble reaching us, if you get to anywhere in the building, which we think we've worked out most of the external in glitches, but if folks are trying to get a hold of us and they get anywhere, someone will transfer you over to where you're trying to get to. So this is my second large-ish phone system that I've done, and there always are these little pathway problems and ring group problems, and it's just kind of the nature of the beast. So we are working through it. They unfortunately fixed the problem, whereas if you went to the menu and hit number 5 for town administrator, it just brought you back to the beginning of the menu. And I was like, if this isn't a metaphor for government, I don't know what is. But we fixed most of those issues.
It does sound really nice. I called in
The
today.
clarity
and I
is
was
way
like,
better.
"Whoa,
Yep.
this is really
There's a noticeable difference in
Yep.
clarity. And we now all have the ability to utilize the Grafton phone system through our computer, no matter where you are, which I know is not new technology, but it's new for Grafton, as well as ghost the number over to your phone, so that when we're remote or out in the field, and we need to call someone back, doing it through your private cell phone number, which is cool. So yeah, really basic functionality, but we didn't have that. So I think people are going to be really happy once we get the calls to where they got to go. So, oh my God, I have another slide? Yeah. I'm going to talk so long on another slide. Okay. We are, moving through our migration, kind of our background stuff for, Office 365. We met with one of our vendors for that last week, or week before, Friday, the week before. We saw Colleen. That was the day. He took us out to lunch at Bushel and Peck.
Oh,
in
yeah.
Atlanta.
Yep.
Oh,
And he did not see me.
no, he did not.
No.
I said, that was our chair of our select board. And he said, who was? Like the woman we
The
talked
woman
to.
that just held the door for
No,
you.
not even.
Nope.
Not a recognition. So anyways, so hopefully we're going to really lean into that in the end of September. Cause we've gotten pretty much all of our user management and all our background stuff lined up. There was a lot of stuff in the Active Directory that did not need to be there. So we spent a lot of time cleaning that up. Regional dispatch, I have an email out to the director of Westcom to try to set up a tour of their facility out in Chicopee. Municipal center upgrade, so we've got our accessible door RFP is issued. That will come to a close middle of September. And that is for the door at the end of the hallway by the elevator. It's the only door that we don't have accessibility buttons on. It has a ramp, but you can't get into the door when you get there. So we funded that as part of our capital funding for this fiscal year, and hopefully we get somebody within our price range to start that before the end of the year. So that'll be nice to get done. And lastly, website upgrade. So we're looking forward to getting our beta test link on the 20th, which should give us our base level functionality that we can start clicking around and playing with the website.
Can I ask a regional dispatch question?
Yes.
Is there a date or a tentative date yet for the board to take action to say yes or no on this?
October 1st is what they're requesting.
Okay.
That's a loose agreement with the towns. So I would anticipate, if we said, well, we're going to have that vote on October 6th, that would be okay. I could reach out to them. But I think that we should probably think about putting that on the last meeting in September to take everyone's temperature. And again, are we staying in the process and moving forward? It's not a binding, you're definitely in regional dispatch for,
Yep.
but they need, and rightly so, the communities that want to move forward need to have some buy-in to go to the next step. So, and just to be clear, it's okay. There's one other thing I just wanted to mention is, even if you decide to move forward, you're years out, right? I mean, it's 2 years minimum, I would think. So, it's not, it's not something that I think people need to panic about as far as, this imminent thing you're gonna vote yes, and then in October we're gonna be switched over. It's a big project, so.
All right.
Yeah, I'd definitely like to hear from Chief Matthew and Chief Crapo.
Yep. Yes.
Just now that they've had a chance to kind of,
Absolutely. Do you want to do that the same? Would you think we'd do that the same night as you're prospectively going to bless it, or do you think it should be done on the middle meeting in September?
So that would be next week.
Yep.
I know I'm comfortable doing it the same night, but I don't know how much time people need to digest that kind of stuff. If you would need a week to digest after hearing from the chiefs. So
I don't feel like I need time. I mean, I think we should discuss it as a group and make a decision to go forward together. Again, we're not signing a contract. It's just, do we want to continue with the process? So it's fairly informal at this point. So I feel pretty comfortable doing it together in one meeting.
maybe reach out to the chiefs and see which date is better for them.
Yep.
And if it's next week versus the week after, we'll just do it that week.
There you
Yep.
go.
Yep. We can do that.
Awesome.
Did
All
we,
right.
sorry, just question, did we allocate ARPA funds for that, for the radio infrastructure? Is that kind of like related to that?
for
Just back in-
local radio infrastructure.
We did-
And, yeah, for the pieces of the project that, if it takes us 2 years to get to, that we can't wait on
Gotcha.
those.
Okay.
Which is unfortunate, but it kind of is.
Okay.
We need to do the bare minimum to keep ourselves stable to
Right.
get to the transition point, if we decide to do that. And if not, then this needs to keep us stable till we can get to the point where the project is ready to be bonded and then do the project.
Okay.
So,
All right. Up next is correspondence. Do you guys have any comments about correspondence?
I just wanted to clarify on the one I'm not finding the correspondence right now. The gentleman who wrote in about the dates, and I know I emailed you, Evan, and I know his correspondence is a little bit convoluted in terms of what he's talking about, but anything that comes in before noon Thursday,
on Thursday. Yep.
that's the cutoff, should be in the following week's packet.
Right.
And if for some reason it doesn't reach next week's packet, it would be in the following week's.
Yep. Yeah. Generally, hardly anything doesn't make it unless it's some kind of bigger issue. So the reason we do that Thursday cutoff is because we have staff assembling that packet.
No,
But
understood, yeah.
what I want to make sure that we convey to folks that may find that to be confusing is it doesn't mean that the board doesn't receive your correspondence. If you send an email to the board's getting it.
We see it, right.
So if it's on an item that's on this current agenda, the board will have seen it and knows that it exists and could digest that information. It just won't be part of the printed packet that gets posted publicly that's a record of all the correspondence that you've gotten.
Right. Just
week.
of note that
Yeah.
last Thursday, there was a correspondence that came in before noon that is indeed not included in the packet, which I noticed, and then it's just interesting that, there's this correspondence as well. So I just wanted to clarify because that one clearly came in before noon and it wasn't included this week.
Which correspondence?
From Joanne Duncan.
About CPC?
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. But, I mean, the letter, okay, yep, good point taken. I guess I received
Again, it just
that
so happened that
differently,
he
but-
wrote this as well, so I just wanted to totally clarify it because that one seemed to have potentially been missed.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
So then that would be in next week's.
Correct.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
And there's always public comment too, right? That if anybody wants to speak on an item, they have public comment as an option.
Sure. Okay.
All right. And there's no resignation, so that brings up public comment. And there's nobody here. Is there anybody on Zoom that has their hand raised?
Nope.
Perfect. So now we just have a couple meeting minutes to approve.
I move the board vote to approve the meeting minutes for February 8th, August 16th, and August 23 of 2022 as written.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion?
I'm just going to abstain because I didn't read any of them.
Okay. All right. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained?
Aye.
Okay. Declare the motion carried. All right. We have no reason to go into executive session, so I can take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Declare the motion carried. Good night, everybody.